Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi here. Another video. This is going to be a tank comparison video of some of the tank builds I've talked about. We're going to call one of them Ridgeway, one of them Catharsis, one of them Foundry, and one Memento. They're all going to use Artificer, they're all going to use Defender, Shield, and they're all going to use Liberty Pistol for the tanking. We're going to start off with the Ridgeway. I've gone over the Ridgeway a bunch of times, why I think it's one of the better tank builds. You're mobile, you have healing. The Defender Shield's always improving your healing. The Defender Shield can spread the bleeds. Sometimes Creeping Death, I've run some of these with Creeping Death, you don't get the stacks of armor from Adrenaline, which I like, but you spread your bleed to everyone, so you're putting tons of bleeds out there. But in this case, you're using your shield deflection to put the bleed on everyone. I ran all these builds on the same control point. I kept resetting the control point on Heroic. And I want you to consider about when you go to a control point, the first time you go to the control point, it has more mobs there than you're normally going to do once you start getting the waves. And I'm going to call that when you break, like when you break in pool. When you break a control point, it's tough to go right in with the tank because you're facing more mobs than you are normally soloing. Soloing in the waves, they eventually get 3 or 4 per wave, so they're pretty easy to handle. If you have different things come up, it's okay. If you have a control point that comes, or control point, if you have a resource come up, you can handle it because the mobs, the 2 sets of mobs have a different objective, but when you go to break the control point, all of them are trying to defend, so all of them target you. And I tried different scenarios where I'd hide a little bit and do that. It was really tough. So the other thing in the videos I'm going to show you when I do the enemy leader, when I take them down when I'm capturing, and the enemy leader when I'm defending. So the Ridgeway is great because you're mobile. You get some versatility in that if you use weapons with Sadist, they get 25% more damage. So you can use those. You can put a bleed on someone, like I have an MP7 that I use sometimes, and I'll run around when I'm kind of naked. And someone was saying to me in the comments on a different video, having 1.9 million, that's only what they consider being a tank. Everything else is not being a tank. I would submit to you that you don't need a tank to be legendary, because I run them all the time without quote-unquote tanks. So the armor it's a personal preference, I think, at that point. What you're doing in 90% of the content, any 4 of these could run in Heroic Online. And the difference between 300,000 armor isn't that much when you're on Heroic and Legendary. Your armor goes down, your shield goes down when you're facing a lot of enemies. But in this scenario, the builds I have are meant to do damage as well. So that's why I have the Deflector Shield in a situation like this or against the dog. I'm using their DPS to help me get everyone else's DPS. And this is kind of one of the things, if you come up to a dog or a mounted weapon and you stand there with your deflector, you can stay there for a while, you got a decent build. You can see that my armor bar goes down. My shield doesn't, but my armor goes down. That's why I'm looking for builds that regenerate armor. So next build you're going to see is Catharsis. I ran a bunch of videos with Catharsis on my second account because I don't have a Ridgeway on that account. Catharsis, same exact build. I have 3 improvised. I have Adrenaline. I've just swapped the mask in the chest piece. This chest piece is a Wyvern with momentum, so I'm going to get more benefit on my skill damage, which is my shield. And Catharsis is going to provide the tanky part of it. You can see there's an icon on there where I'm building up stacks on Catharsis. When I reach 30, I put out a self-heal, and I do more damage as I go up. Of the 3 links of the video, Catharsis took the longest to defeat because it just doesn't have as much DPS. That's why I'm kind of not thrilled with it. It's very sustainable, but I want you to think about when you're targeting enemies. You don't look in the division, you don't look for the tank guys. You look for the people, the drone controllers, the grenadiers, the people that rush, right? The tanks you kind of leave alone. So you don't want to become the very class that you ignore going against the class. So Catharsis is kind of that. If you wanted maximum safety, look at that. With the adrenaline rush and Catharsis, you're just not going to, you're not going to go down. And Artificer, you see the shield just barely ever moves. And you'll hear the whoosh every once in a while of that Catharsis. But you're more stationary, and that's why I don't prefer it. And I had a heck of a time with this guy. This is like the worst case scenario for Catharsis build. So we danced for, I think this section was like 6 minutes trying to kill this guy. Now, you might say, we're in the Hollywood event, which gives everyone, I'm not breaking their, shielded extra armor. So this gives you like the worst case scenario for a tank. What little damage you are doing is exacerbated. So your survivors, I would contend you have to have better survivability because you're not going to kill stuff as fast. Some of the advantages over Ridgeway is you're not so worried about your positional. You can see I'm getting attacked from the back, but because I have that heal, it doesn't really matter. And here I'm showing you, I don't even need to have my shield up because I'm getting the adrenaline rush, and eventually I'm going to get the self-heal pump. And, oh shit moment. But you see, this is where Catharsis is. It's not the best, but I'd say it's the second best to doing this. The other thing that's good about it is I don't really have to do anything. Again, these are all kind of passive skills. And when you're playing, I think that's a big advantage. If you have a passive skill that's healing you or taking care of you, then it's easy to do. For example, Ridgeway, I don't have to do anything. It just applies the bleed. Catharsis, I don't have to do anything. I just have to get shot. The negative for Ridgeway, if you're, well, it's not a negative for Ridgeway. The negative to having a tank build without Artificer is if you don't have Artificer on and you fight dogs or Johnny Fives, you have nowhere to give a headshot with a Liberty. So there's a lot of redundancy built in here. I try to make sure I have armor regen on all these characters, and I put that out there. But I have 2 ways to regenerate a shield. One of them is through Liberty, and one is through Artificer. I have some ways to heal my armor. In Catharsis case, I have this self-heal. In Ridgeway, I put the bleeds on. Protected hostile restored. And when I eventually do kill this guy, when I go on the other side and I'm defending, I kill that person relatively fast. So I think part of this is this was the bad draw, but with another build, I faced one of these guys that takes down pretty fast. Because you're giving up something. Now, you could have an all-yellow build. And I used to run an all-yellow build for a tank build. It had a lot of regen. You have like 2 golem heights. It gives you 1% regen on your armor. You have 1 whatever other kind that gives you 1% on the first skill. You might have a Gila, which gives you 5% more armor. So you have a lot of armor and you have a lot of regen and you're running around like that. And in that scenario, you might get like an Intimidate and an Adrenaline Rush. Intimidate gives you more damage close, the more stacks you have. So those two kind of work together. And I ran that a long time ago, but that you really don't have any, you know, you don't have any heal. It's more damage. I put that more in the Heartbreaker class. You're going to go around and do a lot more damage. That might be something where you have like the little half Crusader shield and then you damage people like that. That might be a good situation for that. And those builds are really powerful. So again, could you solo this with a Heartbreaker? Absolutely. Could you solo it with that other build? Can you solo anything? Yes. So why am I even a tank? We'll go over that here as we switch over. We're going to go to the second half now. Excuse me, we're going to the Foundry. That was the second half. Earth to me. Well, Foundry is fantastic. I partnered the Foundry with the Ridgeway. Ridgeway chest piece reduces the time to heal from 15 seconds to 10 seconds, which gives you, or maybe that's chest piece. You get better healing. I like the Ridgeway because it gives more damage. So this is kind of close to the Ridgeway build with the Foundry, but the healing's much better. What Foundry, the thing that happens with Foundry is once you shield or you take damage, it starts putting on a heal, which you can kind of see that pop up and propagate. So in this case, I'm almost never, my armor's up constant. I don't worry about who's attacking me from behind. I think out of habit I turn around because it's just a habit. Very safe build. I don't have the extra armor. What if I switched out the fourth piece? Well, again, if I'm running Artificer, I think on this I also have Pizarro. Pizarro has 15% weapon damage, and I rolled it as a yellow. So it's given I have two, running Technician, you get 2 slots for Artificer, and the Pizarro piece is great because I can make it 15% more DPS on my weapon. So that's a good, I really don't like Catharsis. It's okay, but it's not my playstyle. This playstyle ended up being pretty good. And this guy's down. Now we'll go to the next half. I think this takes a little longer. If this is the fight against the, I'm not sure if they're shielded over there, or I just was far away. So again, this is Foundry. Is a great set of greens. I think I have regen on most of them, but you might roll them a little bit more. Maybe some weapon handling, maybe some crit stuff. Maybe some skill damage. I flirted with that quite a bit. And every few months I'll go back and do it and say, oh, that must work. And it never does, never sticks. So once I got to this guy, the fight goes relatively fast. And sometimes it's where you are with Deflector, what you want. With these kind of builds, you want more mobs. They shine when there's more mobs. Because everyone's shooting you and you're deflecting that to an enemy. Again, the benefit of Foundry is look at my armor very rarely goes down. In this scenario, the shield looks like it goes down more, but in this case, neither of them are going down. You know, on the other ones you would see I'd start losing my armor. So I had forgotten how good Foundry is. Again, I've talked to you a couple times about having platforms. The platform for these tank builds: Liberty Pistol, Deflector Shield, Artificer. I'm just struggling with Artificer. That word, I think I've said it different each time. Sorry. One of the things this build doesn't have, right, it only has 3 slots for mods, so I only have 36% reduction against elites, but who cares, right? It seems like it doesn't even matter. Again, earlier I talked about, see, that guy's not doing any damage to me. I just go off and kill the other people. He puts that little bleed, but I'm just all over that with the healing of Foundry. So that's Foundry. The final build is a Memento build. And I think Memento is a super powerful piece. It gives you armor, you'll see it builds up your armor, builds up your damage. The problem is you're competing for kills. So if I'm in a group and I'm running Memento and I'm a tank, how many kills am I getting where I'm dropping my pieces that I need? If I'm a DPS, yeah, it's great. If I'm solo, it's great. So if you're soloing, Memento's great. It kills them the fastest of everyone. I don't know if that's how the thing, but it was about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, and then like 7 or 8 minutes for Catharsis. The other benefit, these are yellow, more yellow builds, right? So the Memento is a great piece for, it's like the old ninja backpack. Memento's great because it gives you peace. You get the added benefit when you pick up when they die. So this one I have a Gila, Bellstone, and 2 Goans. And I have like a Whirlwind, I think, weapon damage, you know, for the shield damage. And you see I go through this stuff pretty easy. So that's the builds. All the builds are viable. It's what gear you have. A lot of times, I know when I'm starting out, you might get a Memento first, you might get a Catharsis. Probably the easiest thing to do is get Foundation. But really, I've run all these without exotics, and with exotics. Helps with some exotics, but try to do these videos so that you know, if you don't have time to go out and grind crap load of gear, you just want to go out and be effective. This is what you can do. So again, thank you for watching. I appreciate everyone that's subscribing. Trying to make this regular for you guys. And appreciate everyone that watches. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks.